Madame Giry, wait.
Please, monsieur, I know no more than anyone else.
That's not true.
Oh, monsieur, don't ask. There have been too many accidents.
Accidents? Please, Madame Giry, for all our sakes.
Very well. It was years ago. There was a traveling fair in the city. Gypsies. I was very young, studying to be a ballerina. One of many. Living.
Madame Giry is probably 10, 12 years old. We aren't really sure at this point. But she is going to a circus, a traveling fair. Now, back during this time period in the late 1800s, the fairs had what were called freak shows. And so parents of children who had deformities when they were born were often sold to the circus because it was considered not to be good to have a child who was not 100% normal, so to speak. So if you look at the history of fairs and circuses, people like the bearded lady, you know, a lady who actually had hair growing on her face, or the rubber-faced man, someone with very stretchy skin, or Elastic Girl, someone who could bend their body in all different kinds of ways, they would become the freak show of the circus. Young Eric, which is the Phantom's real name, young Eric was part of the freak show at the circus. When he was born, his face was very deformed, and so instead of keeping him, his parents sold him to the circus, and he became part of the freak show as what was known as the Devil's Child.
In the dormitories of the opera house.
See the wonder from the east.
Come inside. Come and see the Devil's Child.
This was young Eric's toy that he played with as a child, this little monkey doll with cymbals in its hand, and that's what he modeled the music box after. The Phantom actually made, I talked about him being so talented, he actually made that music box that played the song Masquerade based on this toy he had as a child. Now the Phantom was very poorly treated in this circus. He was beaten by the circus owner and the people that worked for him, and they would, the crowds that would come to it, if they enjoyed the show, if they thought that it was, you know, amazing, if they thought it was amazing that this Devil's Child looked as poorly as they advertised him to be, they would throw money in the cage for the owners of the circus. But the people also treated Eric very poorly, and they would throw food at him, just part of the whole culture that existed back then. It was very awful. So young Eric has had enough of this lifestyle. He's about 6, 7 years old, maybe 8 years old, somewhere around in there, and he kills the owner of the circus. The police at the time see what happened, and so they chase after him. Madame Giry, young Madame Giry, is very upset by this and very concerned for Eric, so she takes him to the opera house to hide him from the authorities. And if you remember way back at the beginning of the movie, I talked about the importance of this room where Christine goes to light a candle for her father and where she hears the Phantom's voice all the time. This was where the Phantom first entered the opera house.
I hid him from the world and its cruelties. He has known nothing else of life since then, except this opera house. It was his playground, and now his artistic domain. He's a genius. He's an architect and designer. He's a composer and a magician. A genius, monsieur.
Clearly, Madame Giry, genius has turned to madness.
We jump forward in time again to 1919 as Raoul is traveling somewhere that we'll find out later.